Good morning, my friends. It's Christy Shell. I am back today. We are talking about how to make friends with fear. Now, it's a new topic, but I really want you to think about, what are you most fearful about? This is such a scary topic, no pun intended, for most people, but I really want to help you be courageous and dig into this concept today. If you don't know me, I'm Christy Shell with Zeal Coaching with Life and Careers. We help people design a life that rocks them, facing fears and finding the career that makes their life soar. So this is our fifth part of our mindset series, Mindset Mania series, and I am so glad to be here with you this morning. So let's dig right into this idea of fear. So one of the really, on a normal day, I would be talking about, there's basically two kinds of fear. One is irrational fear, like this natural, our brain, an irrational fear and real fear, okay? So here's what happens. Our brain is meant, number one priority is to keep us alive, okay? And so we have, for many, many, many years, good morning, everybody. For many years, we have, for many generations and for all of evolution, we have survived, right? And so naturally as humans, our brains are very good at this, right? We don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about our heart rate. We don't have to think about our metabolism or processing food and getting that energy in our natural set. But our brain is also equipped to have a fight-flight reaction, okay? So that when someone was preying on us, like a tiger or something like that, we would have the reaction, okay? Or whenever we ran into fear. But what has happened over evolution, and as humans have become more sustainable and have thrived, right? And we have figured out the food and the shelter and the water and all those kind of things that really help our systems to thrive. That part of our brain has not gone away, okay? So we really have this piece that the brain is always working to make sure that we are on alert, and that if any threat was coming in our world, we would be able to block that off, okay? And we would be ready and we would be able to react. So what's happened though, good morning, Kath. So what's happened though is that because we don't have a lot of real threats, now this is my conversation way before pandemic times, and we'll talk about that in a second. But because our life doesn't have a lot of threats, our brain actually makes them up. We will worry, because that is what worrying is. We'll worry that something's going to happen. We kick in that idea of really creating something to be afraid of, because our brain has to work on something like that, okay? Good morning, guys. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. And so, but what is interesting is that when usually it's a lack, attack kind of mentality. I won't have enough, or I am worried about literally physical safety, okay? But our brain is constantly kind of creating the thing to worry about and to be afraid of and to be on alert, okay? So it wants to work on this all the time. So normally I would say 98% of what you're afraid of is an irrational fear, because as humans right now, we normally have very little things to be worried about. We're taught to be afraid of things like the dark, or walking down the streets, on that side of town or whatever. We're taught these things, and some of them are very good. Look both ways when you cross the street. It's a very good thing to learn, so you don't get squished by a car. This is a real fear. This is something your parents taught you to take care of you and to keep you alive. Literally, they're helping you with your survival, okay? But this kind of grows into all kinds of ways. Like, you have to get a college education or you'll starve and die. Like, this whole craziness about the fears that we create, which is totally not true, right? And so you can survive on things. It's really interesting. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that Trisha's asking this. She's asking, I feel like women worry more than men. And I think what's happened there is that women have more thoughts than men. This is clinically, their brains are running faster. And so they are thinking about those things, Trisha. And they're also kind of in that feminine, like guarding the people around us. Men, they have a more primal, I can take care of this, I am the warrior kind of thought process, and this is why men get into fights and women, like talk about people behind their back, because it's a different way that we kind of normally or naturally react. Now, not all people are like that. Some women are warriors and some men are like big-hearted. So just, trying to get into that trap of understanding. But what happens for you is really the question. What happens when you go to fear or you feel threatened? Now, talking about irrational fears, we create a lot of evidence, right? So this crazy old acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. Like, we'll create all the evidence to think that something is a threat to us, okay? And we'll just pile on the evidence and the ways that we get that, and we grow that fear, okay? And so we have to be really conscious of, like, what is real and what is in my mind, okay? What is real and what is caused by my thoughts? Hi, Holly, good morning. So really to think about what that is it an irrational fear or is it a real fear? Now, normally I'd be like, most people right now have, very little real fear. Like, it may be a fear of a car accident. It may be, I don't know how many people are sleeping out in a sleeping bag and worry about a snake getting into the thing. This is like natural, real fear. Or that somebody might have a gun or that you might be, those are kinds of things. But normally those aren't real, okay? But even like, this is why kids love video games, okay? Because they get to go there, they get to overpower like the warrior battle type of mentality, but they really are not, but they kind of live that out and have that power of overcoming fear and being kind of in that state because her brains want to naturally do that, okay? This is why we love drama in the news. This is why we love those kinds of things. Not that we love them, because I don't love them, but we have to consciously watch, is it elevating our fear or is it lowering our fear? So one of the things is like, what kind of news and things like that do you absorb? Does it raise your fear level or does it lower your fear level? And is it rational? Okay. So some things are really rational in the news and some things aren't. So let's talk about this for just a second though. Let's talk about real fear. Okay. This is a huge thing right now. It's a really big thing. And I kind of want to focus there. We can talk about irrational fears. I talk about them every day and how we create phantom rules that hold our life back. But in this mindset place right now, the real thing is we feel real fear, right? This is not like the word pandemic was like this crazy thing that we thought, was like all the movies are about. So we got to like experience that and see what would happen, all that kind of stuff. But now it's real, okay? And so we have to really think about, where are we letting our minds go and how do we turn and face fear? Because fear will always be with us, okay? The idea of perfectionism is completely about their fear of things not being perfect, okay? That is what perfectionism is. And so, but in a lot of ways, that is someone's brain creating something to be afraid of. But now we have real things that we are afraid of, that we can be afraid of. But we do have real things that we are afraid of right now. And it's kind of blown and gotten exponentially wider. Now, here's the thing. I want you to understand that wherever you are, sitting wherever you are fine right now, okay? this is one of the biggest pieces about how to kind of turn and face fear, is to realize that you are not in danger at this very moment, okay? And to kind of breathe that in and let that be with you, and let that kind of absorb into that. I'm fine right this minute, and I'm fine this second, and I'm fine this second. And to really sit in that right now, okay? And kind of let yourself be in that place, especially if you're absorbing a lot of really scary news, or you're looking at the numbers or whatever. But in this moment, we are all just fine. And I think many people are starting to really like embrace the people around them in their life, even though we might be going a little stir crazy. But that idea is like really to love and kind of notice what's important. And I think that's what fear can do for us, is it helps us notice what is important, and really turn and face and embrace that, and really, see the miracles and the beautiful people in our lives, and the situations, all that we have, and all of those great things. So to really be able to go, I'm okay right now. Now, here's the thing. It's not either you're afraid or you're not afraid. It's not a this or that. It's a binary thing, which means you hold two concepts in your mind at the same time. So I can be fine and feel that like down to my toes or into my gut or whatever. But at the same time, we know that there is that fear. This is actually happening for us all the time, but it's definitely just elevated in this time right now, okay? So one of the pieces is that binary, I'm fine and everything, but what could happen, right? Now, this is a worry, and this is the part I really want to focus on. I want to turn and have you think about, how do I turn and face that fear? So I want to give you a couple tips about how do I turn. Now, the fear is not happening. I mean, it's not right there. It's not like someone's pointing a gun at you, right? Or, you've been backed in the corner by a giant bear. Like, those are real fears, and that is happening right now to you. But it feels that way right now sometimes, right? And so when you're making choices about what you're going to do or not do, or staying home or whatever. So to really think and turn and face the fear and go, okay, what would I do? One of the things is that the idea of fear is, it's again, another binary idea, is that I have power to control some things in that situation, right? And I have to put faith in whoever your greater power is. Now, if you don't have faith in greater power, maybe it's just in the power of like good over evil, like good, people are good or whatever. And this is something to talk more deeply about later, but just to understand that there's two ideas here. I have power, and also I have to put faith in the divine, the universe, God, Jesus, Yahweh, whatever you call him, okay, or whatever you call that energy source, is you have to kind of live in both ways. And we know this, and many people who are, but to really think about what can I do, and what faith do I have, okay, and what pieces do I think that God is working for me, God has gotten me, if this is, our time or my family's time, that he has me, okay? And at the same time, really thinking about what can I do to prevent, or to, if something bad would happen, to really give yourself the action plan, okay? I want to give you some control of what that is. And I know that sounds horrible, but it's kind of like leaning into the pain so that you can like live more courageously, because you're like, I have a plan, right? And you're like, I can do this. This would happen a lot for me. My husband was traveling a lot in the last few years, specifically to China before the pandemic. So he was there for 14, weeks in 1 year. And so every time he would leave or while he was gone, I would kind of go through I would create my own scenario. Okay, if If his plane went down, what would I do? Do I know my plan? Do I know what I need to do? And that kind of thing. But it didn't prevent me from making him go, or I would only spend a certain amount of time thinking about that, because if I obsessed on that all the time, it was going to take the joy out of every day. And I really want you to think about applying that to this. If you are really worrying all the time about everything that is happening, you are missing beautiful days, okay? And so first, it's okay to have a plan. Good morning, Mason. It's okay to have a plan. It's okay to kind of think, okay, what would happen? It would be horrible. Live in that space. Let your body live that. And then turn and be courageously being like, okay, back into my day, okay? Because I think ignoring it is not rational either. I think ignoring it is not real either. Or not feeling empathy for the people who are in kind of those really, tragic situations right now. But for you to say, what is my plan? And that I am resilient enough to come through whatever happens. I think that's the biggest thing, is to bring some of your power back to yourself and say, if your worst, because my worst is like something would happen to my children, and then that worst thing, and you're like, okay, but I can't even imagine the pain, because that is what we really are afraid of, right? And to miss people and to have that. But to actually think about what would that be, and that I say, I don't know how I would get out of bed every day, but that I would, okay? And to start to give yourself kind of this, I'm not the victim, I am a survivor. I would do whatever I needed to do to make it happen, okay? I feel like we watch women, especially, or people that like have breast cancer, we watch these women, when they get that diagnosis of breast cancer, it doesn't mean they're going to pass away. It means they are going to face a battle, and that they are going to be the warrior to do that. And so I think we have to really kind of absorb that thought that we would ourselves be a warrior and survive, and actually potentially be happy again on the other side, and those kinds of things, and really understand that is in us, and that we have the power to do that, okay? So when you think about what is important to you, what's the worst thing? So we call it, the concept is burst the worst. So if the worst thing happened, I do this a lot with students who are like, I'm afraid to go to college because what if I fail, or what if I flunk out, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? Like, what's the worst thing? You get to school, you like flunk your classes, what are you going to do? Like, let's talk about it. Like, so they can see that, sometimes turning your face and you're like, well, you're not going to let that happen, right? You're going to do all you can, or you're going to ask for help, or and give them a strategy for like being proactive to that. And I think that's what we need now, is that we need to you need to be thinking about, and I need to be thinking about, what is the proactiveness if something actually happens, okay? And let that give us strength, not let it bring us down, okay? And let it help us feel resilient and somewhat in control and the power of that, okay? So really, what's the worst thing that could happen? How would you do? Do you have the tactical strategies? Now, you may not be able to think about how you would deal with the pain of it, and because it's kind of unfathomable sometimes with those type of things, but just to go, I would know what to do, and I have the strength in myself to be able to do that, and to really kind of sit in that. It's not an arrogant thing. It's not the idea of ego is edging God out. So let's face and turn also to the divine, and to whoever your greater power is, if you have one, is the idea that in this time when faith is really critical, I really believe things aren't happening to us, things are happening for us. And this is a very spiritual God thought, right? Is that God, that things are happening for us. I don't know what they are. I'm not going to people like, oh, this means we all have to get back to whatever. I'm not here to tell you what the lesson of why it's happening for us. But if it is helping you reconnect with your family, if it's helping you slow down because you were exhausted from work, if it's helping you to be helpful and mindful and loving to people outside, if it's helpful because we learn empathy, whatever the divine lessons are, those are not mine to call. You can decide what those are for you. But the idea that you are not walking alone, or that something greater is happening right now for us, okay? And I often say, like, when I'm in really positions of fear, or even like I will say I have to go into a tough conversation, or I'm going to meet with somebody and I'm not sure how it's going to go. My personal prayer is, just guide me. Give me the words, give me the thoughts, guide me, and I like absorb that idea into me. Please help me, please guide me. And so to know that in these super fearful times that God is there, and that he will, or she will, whatever you believe, will be with you and taking care of you. And these tough times are loving learning. It's loving learning, okay? And we can't be better people without challenges. We can't become who we are meant to be without challenges. And God is definitely giving us a challenge right now. And so to really sit in that and like absorb it and have faith that you are a part of this bigger thing, and that if it's about loving, I always feel everything is driving us to love each other more. That's my personal religion. That's what I believe, is that everything that happens is learning to love each other more. And when people are doing things that you are like making you crazy, and we're seeing lots of different things on TV from all different perspectives, and things is making you angry and crazy and those kinds of things. The thing is that we have to open our heart to understand the empathy of the people who are saying those things and where they're coming from. This is the learning, okay? And so to think about, what am I meant to learn? Even to pray, please show me what I'm meant to learn in this time, right? Because use it for some deeper good, right? And when you watch the huge tragedies that are happening in some of the larger cities, or in areas, or with your family even, because I know it's not just large cities, deeper love for me is always the answer, right? To understand and to feel for them, but not to soak it so much in that you don't feel like you have some power and ability to be resilient and to survive and to help and those kinds of things. I think very many people are very afraid right now because they feel very powerless. And with this idea of, asking for help with the divine, and understanding that you have control even of your everyday actions, but also in the worst case scenarios, that you are powerful, okay? Now, we're never in control. We're never in full power, okay? And this is one of the things that we're truly faced with right now. And so really to understand that we have to make friends with fear, that so many people cringe against it instead of going, okay, I got this. I'm going to live courageously. I'm going to bring it on. I'm just going to be like, we will survive and do these things. And to really take it deeper into yourself and not make it so powerless for you, okay? So all of this is in the mindset of noticing irrational fear and noticing what is real fear. We can do a whole segment on irrational fear later, because those are the things that are generally holding us back, okay? Those are the things that we have invented and have come to believe, and those kinds of things, and those generally hold us back. But I do think today it is very appropriate to talk about real fear and to spend some time for yourself and do that. So I am so grateful for you being here, and hopefully we we come out of this stronger and together and just more loving. And we have turned to learn and be living courageously. So this is Christy Shell with Zeal Coaching. If you need anything, please contact me. If you like this post, please like it and repost it or share it with some friends. Do something to help promote me. I would love that. And if you need any help, please contact me. This is Christy Shell with Zeal Coaching. Have a fabulous day.